Welcome back everyone to this World Cup draw special of the Fans Go Mild here with me, Bob Smith. It's very exciting times here. I know that's not normally what we do on the show, but it is time for pot 4. This is the pot that the All Whites are in, so it's time to find out what group they will be in for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. It's now time to cross division over there from the draw being conducted by Zinedine Zidane. Hopefully no headbutts will take place here when New Zealand's draw does get revealed, but we're about to have a look here at Group A. So far, one of the hosts in the USA alongside Morocco and Ecuador. We'll see now who gets pulled out of this group. New Zealand can't go into this one. It is Kosovo. That, to be fair, not the strongest group. Neither is Group B. This is probably one that New Zealand wouldn't mind going in, but China joined Canada, Sweden, as well as Egypt. Now Group C, Mexico, South Korea, and Mali are joined by Ireland. New Zealand still to come out. Group D, they definitely don't want with Brazil and the Netherlands. Thankfully, don't get it as Cameroon will join Iran. Next up, it's the group of P's, Portugal, Poland, Tunisia, and New Zealand. They go into Group E. That looks like quite a tricky one. Definitely think they would have preferred Group B. We make our way now through the rest of the draw, but really, who cares? New Zealand have come out of the hat. Now Group G, Honduras, they join Japan, Nigeria, and England in that group. Now the defending champions, Argentina, they're joined by Syria as well as the Ivory Coast and Norway. Australia, so far Italy and Switzerland in their group. Haiti, they complete that one. Over to Group J, France, Senegal, and Colombia, they are joined by Palestine. Of course, that's a team New Zealand have beaten recently. Group K, that looks quite dangerous, with Spain, Germany, and Ghana, Panama in for a bit of shellacking in that group. And the final group, this does mean that Guinea, they will join Belgium, Croatia, and Chile. So there's a draw for the 2026 World Cup. The All Whites might be in, unfortunately, for a bit of a tough time alongside Portugal, Poland, and Tunisia. We'll see in a couple of months' time just how the All Whites get on. Of course, a couple of the best third-place teams actually make their way through to the second round, seeing as there's more teams at the tournament now. So hopefully the All Whites might be able to beat Tunisia, and they could be one of those teams. It's certainly one of the rank outsiders. Hopefully the All Whites can do us proud at the FIFA World Cup. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 28 of the New Zealand Builder Nation here on Sean Does FM with both the All Whites and with AFC Auckland. Come of day, we'll finish the third season with AFC Auckland, the A-League. We just need one more win to secure the title. Hopefully that will come in our first game where we take on our challengers in Western Sydney Wanderers. Otherwise, we've got two off the back of that to finish off the job, and also hopefully we'll get stuck in to the end of season review as well. And also before then, as you saw through the intro, have got the draw for our group for the World Cup with the All Whites. So if you're looking forward to the end of season 3 today with AFC Auckland, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But first things first, off the back of yesterday's episode where we did take on the Wellington Phoenix with AFC Auckland, picked up a big win there, then lost our first game in 21 with the All Whites as we took on Thailand. If you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Did pick up a win right off the back of that though with El Salvador, but a few days later did have the draw for the upcoming FIFA World Cup. We'll just find it here once we make our way over to the World Cup here on the tab. We can have a look at the groups here for this year's World Cup, and if we make our way down to Group E, currently we're on top of it because of alphabetical reasons it looks like, but we are in Group E. It does look like quite a tough group for us. Unfortunately, we're drawn alongside Poland, Portugal, and Tunisia. Poland, they are currently 21st in the world. Portugal, the highest seeds in our group, they are currently all the way up in 7th, and the other team in our group is Tunisia. That's probably the game we might be able to get something out of, albeit they're doing quite well as well, up in 36th on the world rankings, while we are lingering all the way down in 88th. So it is going to be quite a tough group for us at the World Cup, but that was expected with this being our first one, still looking to develop some young talent and get some good imports in the areas where we are weak. The one thing about the World Cup, because we've gone to the expanded team format, if we do somehow find a way to be one of the better third place teams, we could make our way through still to the second round, but based on the group that we've got, that looks a bit unlikely. Probably going to finish in 4th, but hopefully we can prove someone wrong and maybe sneak our way through to the second round as one of the best third place finishers, or maybe pick up 3 draws like we did when we last did the World Cup, albeit I wasn't in charge, and see if we can sneak through like that. But certainly there could be a chance for us to potentially make our way through to the second round, but it is a tough group. We'll see how we get on come the start of next week. But switching our attention to AFC Auckland now, for today's episode, we have just played one game off the back of that Wellington Phoenix one that we did play yesterday. It was against the Redcliffe Waves, and we smashed them by a scoreline of 6-1. Lots of friendlies in around that, seeing as we're out of the cup thanks to the Western Sydney Wanderers. Last time we played them, suffered a 4-0 defeat, so definitely looking for some revenge in this first game of today's episode, but thankfully picked up 3 more points against the Redcliffe Waves at Mount Smart. 6-1 win, very convincing goals to Chris Wood, Bernard Zay, Ben Wayne, Max Caputo, Stefan Negro, and Gabriel Tormin off of the bench with a very good performance, picking up a 6-1 win. They grabbed a late goal through Murillo, but it was certainly just a consolation goal. And what that means going into today's episode, we are 6 points clear of the Wanderers, which kind of means they need to beat us here in this first game of today's episode. A draw would kind of keep them in it, but that goal differential is certainly in our favour. Hopefully we can at least pick up a point from this one and then finish off the job with a couple of quite easy games in our last couple, the Perth Glory on the final day of the season, and before then we take on Sydney United from Mount Smart. The reason that gap has been extended is on the previous match week. If we go down here, the Western Sydney Wanderers, they drew with Western United, a team who held us to a draw going in to yesterday's episode. So that's the reason our gap on top of the table has been extended. So if we can pick up a win in this first game of today's episode, that will do the job and we'll pick up the A-League title. Just one injury concern going in to today's episode off the back of yesterday's episode, where of course Nathan Lobo, torn calf muscle, he's out for the rest of the season. But Teo Atema, he's now got a pulled hamstring, so he's out for 5 to 10 days. It does mean he'll at least miss this first game of today's episode. Might be back in time if we do need to show you guys that one against Sydney United. So it does mean Nathan Palmer can step up and start in that defensive midfield role. But thankfully the likes of Gabriel Tormin and Ronaldo are back for this one. So it does mean Ben Wayne can go back to being a striker instead of a right winger, despite the fact he was actually doing a really good job out there. But hopefully Ronaldo and Tormin can get through this one, because they will be featuring as a starter and off the bench respectively, but we'll come back shortly and hopefully do enough to seal the title against Marco the Snake Rudan and the Western Sydney Wanderers. And here are the team sheets for this top of the table clash from Parramatta. As I said, Western Sydney do, I think, need a win from this one. A draw, probably not enough. They are still going with the 5-2-1. So in terms of us, pretty much back to full strength, apart from Palmer coming in for Atema Ronaldo at right wing, back from his injury. As I said, I think a draw would pretty much be enough for us to be on the verge of lifting the title, but a win would get the job done, and we get a trophy lift here in Parramatta. And a very early highlight here in favour of Western Sydney. For some reason, despite the fact they're at home, they are wearing their all-white, which does mean there's a slight kick clash potentially here with us in the blue and white hoops. But Debungo there, I think that is, brings down Alex Badalato early inside the box. It looked like he might have won the ball, so we'll see if this was a penalty or not, judged by VAR. Unfortunately, we do give away an early penalty, not what we need after losing 4-0 here in our last game where we played these guys in the Australian Cup, which did end our chances of the quadruple. And to be fair, not a good start in terms of trying to make it a treble as well, as Kutupov puts that one past Paulson into the bottom right corner. Not an ideal start. We go 1-0 down early. And just making our way up to the 20-minute mark now, and off the back of that poor start, now Ronaldo's picked up an orange injury, so because of that, I think we'll play things safe here against a good team. Ben Wayne can come on at right wing and hopefully do what he's been doing in our last couple of games out there, playing quite well, as we're still 1-0 behind.
Yeah.
And right off the back of that, we're going to be using 2 stoppages here in the first half, because Georgie Fernandez is injured, so the Hotman de Villiers will come on for him. That means we're going to have to be very careful with our remaining substitutions. 1-0 down and a couple of injuries. And now up to the half-hour mark, and the Western City Wanderers yet again are on the attack here. Cody Phoenix with a corner looking to float that one into the mixer. Paulson comes out to claim it. Doesn't quite get there. It finds its way to Ramos, who takes on a shot. That one comes off the post. So thankfully the woodwork there comes to our rescue, and good work there from the Wayne trainer to get in the way of that ball that was getting played into the mix. So we'll see if something's going to happen here on the counter-attack. The Hotman de Villiers to Chris Wood. It goes out now to Debango, but unfortunately that highlight ends and we're still 1-0 behind. And almost in the last 5 minutes of this first half, and we finally might have a highlight here in our favour, thrown inside the final third. Callan Elliott, interesting pass there. He was kind of looking for Palmer. Thankfully, actually read it, and we do get the ball back there. Now Debango floats that far post looking for the Wayne train. One save there and another shot that comes off the post. Unfortunately, Wayno can't add to his tally late on in this season, but shortly off the back of that, we do have a free kick. Hopefully, can level things up here right before halftime. Callan Elliott out to De Hotman de Villiers on the right-hand side for some reason. Does quite well there to keep that ball, squares it nicely for Max Caputo. That's actually some wonderful work there from Matthew De Hotman de Villiers. Was under a fair bit of pressure there down that right-hand side. Was wondering why he was out there. Sullivan, the former AFC Auckland man, he does there, and that allows Caputo to find himself in just enough space to put that one away, and we make it 1-1. Albeit just as we're about to make our way into 3 minutes of added time now down the other end here for a Western Sydney Wanderers corner. They find Ramos there on the edge of the box, and that's an absolute screamer. He picks up his 20th goal of the season. He might be someone we need to check out because that's certainly a high output, albeit Western Sydney Wanderers, of course, they can take part in continental football, which might be helping out those numbers, but still, that's a really nice strike there. For some reason, we don't tightly mark him. Nothing Paulson can do about that one. And we're not level for long, 2-1, as we now make our way into 3 minutes of added time, albeit a highlight here immediately from the restart. Hopefully can find a way here somehow to grab an instant reply. Chris Wood, he gets in behind. Good chance there, but Lawrence Thomas comes up with a big save. So unfortunately, Big Wood can't get the job done there just before half-time, albeit now a chance for us here from set piece. Debango in there for Victor Ross. Thomas gets a good touch on that, but can't keep it out, and we make it 2-2 and strike back nearly immediately off the back of that previous chance to Chris Wood. Thankfully, it went out for a corner. Thomas gets a big touch on that one, but Victor Ross scores for us yet again from set piece. He's an absolute weapon in the air. He had to get called up by Cyprus, so he's someone who could be useful in the future for the All Whites, albeit centre-back is quite a strong position for us, but thankfully, grab an equaliser just before half-time as lots of goals late in that first half. Caputo, Ramos and Victor Ross, and thankfully 2-2 off the back of that early penalty that we did give away. Based on overall stats, we should really be in control of this game, but I suppose that is where the penalty does come in. Now, of course, not many substitutions left. Actually, we've got some substitutions, but not many stoppages left. But to be fair, everyone out there is doing okay enough. So I think we'll save those last three for one stoppage. In the second half, we'll get things back underway. Locked up at 2-2. And in fact, there is a highlight here immediately from the restart. We did tell the guys that hopefully they'll be a bit better in the second half. They're playing decently. Just need to shore things up defensively and hopefully can find a way to pick up 3 points here, which would see us get a trophy lift with 2 games left in the season. But Priestman here holds the ball nicely for the Wanderers. Kutupov plays that over to Billingsley, and now Cody Phoenix down that left-hand side plays a nice ball forward there looking for Ramos, who scored that goal earlier, and he'll do so again here early in the second half, yet again linking up nicely with Cody Phoenix, who certainly is on the radar of the All Whites, but unfortunately a few players attribute-wise in his way. Left-back actually quite a strong area for us these days with the likes of Libby Kakache, but that's far too easy for Ramos, and unfortunately, lots of goals either side of half-time. We now go 3-2 behind. And the action continues 10 minutes into the second half. Now we are somewhat down the other end here, a throw-in just inside of the opposition half. Pascali plays that one back to Courtney Perkins. Debango just holds things up here, slightly finds Pascali, and eventually we get the ball out to De Hotman de Villiers, who was quite good setting up that first goal that we did score, but at the moment just looking to keep hold of position. Palmer, nice ball out there for Elliott, who can find himself in some space, tight angle, tries to square that for someone. Unfortunately, can't quite link up there though. I think he was looking for Caputo, but unfortunately got nothing on that. The Wayne train squares it. Interesting ball, but unfortunately goes out for a goal kick, and we're still 3-2 behind. And very short off the back of that previous highlight, now down the other end, yet again a corner here to the Western Sydney Wanderers. Ramos there looking for a hat-trick. Thankfully though, he skies that one just a little bit. It goes over the bar, but we are still 3-2 behind, and now that we are at the hour mark, I think it might be time for us here with some players on poor ratings to make those final 3 subs. Courtney Perkins can come off for Adam Mitchell. We'll just switch him with Victor Ross, seeing as Mitchell is more natural on that right-hand side. Victor Ross, he doesn't care where he plays. Also struggling out there is Nathan Palmer. Lucas Nunez can play DM, so we'll bring him on, and also move the Wayne Train up front. Chris Wood on a 6.4, play Gavin Tormin on that right wing. That's all our subs used as we look for an equaliser in this last half hour. And unfortunately, about to make our way into the last 10 minutes of this game. It looks like those changes we made at the hour mark aren't making too much difference. Now it's time for us to go all out attack our wing backs, and also sweeper keeper. They can go on to attack. We'll also go to an attacking mindset. Chuck Nunez onto a ball wing midfielder because he's a bit more natural there on support, and also play wider, up our tempo, try and get something going late in this game to make sure that Western Sydney hopefully can't catch us on the final couple of matches of the season. And now to the last 5 minutes of regular time in this game. We'll encourage the guys and see if something can happen. And Western Sydney Wanderers there look like they might have been on the attack, but the ball's too deep, and Debango can tidy things up for us. Hopefully a chance for us here to try and grab an equaliser and make sure that we pick up a draw, which I think would all but seal the title for us going to those last 2 games of the season, where we do take on bottom of the table Sydney United and then the Perth Glory, who are, I think, going to be taking part in a relegation playoff unless they sort out their form late on. But we eventually find Callum Elliott in a bit of space down that right-hand side. Surprised that no teams are tightly marking him. He squares it for the Wayne Train and tucks it away past Lawrence Thomas, and he comes up with yet another big goal late in the season for us. Of course, he'll be our starting striker next season with no Chris Wood. The players are celebrating. The goal is awarded, and thankfully those changes that we made have got something happening. Callum Elliott links up with his fellow former Wellington Phoenix man, and the Wayne Train just in behind, pinpoint finish there, just past Thomas at that near post to make it 3-3. Just check here how close that was to being offside, but he's well behind Elliott there. It's a clear-cut goal to make it 3-3. We'll see what happens late in this game. You can see we've actually had lots of shots on target in this one. A little bit frustrating that Western Sydney have scored 3 goals, but of course we did give away an early penalty that would have helped them out. But it's a 3-3 draw. Doesn't quite wrap up the title for us yet, but it does go a long way, because Western Sydney, they would need to score a lot more goals than us in those last 2 games of the season. And of course, we need to lose both our games. So I think that pretty much does it. We'll come back for Sydney United and make sure we complete the job. That is a decent result after going down 3 times in that game. We come back and pick up a 3-3 draw to put us right on the verge of that A-League title. Albeit before we go forward to that Sydney United game in 2 weeks, an injury update here, because of course 2 players were forced from the field. Georgie Fernandez is gone for the rest of the season, 6 to 7 weeks with damaged knee cartilage, so unfortunately he won't feature. Hopefully we won't need him with our opposition that we do have remaining. And Ronaldo, twisted knee to be fair, not too bad, only 3 to 4 days, but maybe should be sticking with a fit Wayne Train out on that right wing, considering how well he did when he did come on the field. But a couple of injuries. Thankfully Ronaldo will be back for that next game, but Fernandez is gone for the rest of the season. And coming back quickly with a further injury update, this one though is related to the All Whites going in to the World Cup. Of course, we found out yesterday Ryan Thomas won't be at the World Cup, but off the back of that, he's actually retired these days. A loan manager retiring at just 31 years old probably tells how bad his injuries were during the course of his career. So Ryan Thomas, unfortunately, no longer an option for us with the All Whites. It probably means someone like Justin Keat or Matthew Garbutt can sneak their way into that World Cup squad. So that's 1 player missing. Unfortunately, there's one more that's just come through the inbox. It's a big one as well. Cody Phoenix might be doing fist pumps about this one. Libero Kakache sidelined for 2 months, and it does mean he will be out of the World Cup. We could pick him if we were confident we would make the knockouts, but that does look a bit unlikely. So Kakache with a torn thigh muscle, that is a big out for us, one of our better players who is over at Empoli in Serie A. So it does mean that Adam White, alongside someone, as I said, like Cody Phoenix, they need to step up for us in this upcoming World Cup. But Kakache, he is gone from the FIFA World Cup. And we've eventually made our way forward to our second to last game of the A-League season. This should definitely be the game where we secure the title. We take on bottom of the table Sydney United, who are pretty much already guaranteed to be getting relegated down to the National Second Division for next season. If they don't win this one, that will be the case. And all we need is a draw. To be fair, this is a team that we should absolutely be beating. We are missing a couple of players though, through injury, still missing Nathan Lobo and also, of course, Georgie Fernandez. Stefan Melk picked up a groin strain in training / friendly to keep our rotation players fit. He's gone for 2 to 4 weeks. That does mean Justin Keat as the backup central attacking midfielder is losing nothing near the player who now has a decent chance at the All Whites World Cup squad with that retirement of Ryan Thomas and also Callan Elliott. He is out with a gashed upper leg, so it does mean that Stefan Negro, he will be starting this one at right back, but this is definitely a team that we should be beating considering their table position and also their recent form, and especially because this one as well is at Mount Smart. Will come back shortly and hopefully get the job done and lift our second straight A-League. And here are the team sheets for the second to last game of the season. So changes to our usual first choice 11. Negro at right back. Both defensive midfielders. Palmer still in for a tamer, but forgot to mention, because it wasn't part of the injury report, Michael Beale, he gets his first start, of course, these days, is 16 years old, and also Wayno out right, and Hotman de Villiers out left. So an exciting moment here. Michael Beale gets his first start at AFC Auckland off the back of already having played a couple of games for the All Whites, but hopefully this is the day we lift our second straight A-League title. And it hasn't taken long here at all for the first highlight. As a frown though to the opposition in Sydney United. They're in the red with the white shorts and the blue socks. We're in our traditional home uniform of the blue and white hoops, but they're keeping the ball quite nicely here. The opposition, but not, we can almost win the ball back there through Debango. Thankfully he does recover though, and we eventually do get hold of the ball. This should be a game that we're winning comfortably. Quite a strong team out there, and hopefully can pick up this A-League title and then sit out some players on that final day of the season, albeit it would be nice to play Chris Wood, seeing as currently he is in with a shout of picking up the golden boot, and of course that would be his last game here at AFC Auckland as he is off to Turkey next season. Nice ball over the top there from Hotman de Villiers for him, and he does pick up his 25th of the season. He is celebrating it, no flag up there. It's not too sure why he's not moving at all. It's not like he's playing against the former team, but Chris Wood will pick up a goal. It's actually Michael Cornelius Beale who got that attack going. Caputo to Hotman de Villiers, and Chris Wood puts that one past Spinella, and we take an early 1-0 lead, and hopefully on our way to this title. And another highlight here, just shy of the 10-minute mark. They were on the attack there with Sydney United, but good tackle there from Palmer, albeit it has left the Sydney United player there on the floor. We'll see what does happen off the back of this. If we score, that could be controversial. Debango does still keep us on the attack. Beale, he gets interfered with a little bit. Palmer, who made that tackle, really nice strike, that one into the top right corner. I dare say Sydney United fans won't be too happy with him, though. He was the player who made that challenge, which did leave the Sydney United player on the ground and looking like he might have a bit of a serious injury. Palmer then continues down the other end and puts that one away and gives us a buffer goal to make it 2-0. And going all the way forward to the last 5 minutes now of the first half, so things certainly slowed down off the back of that quick start that we did make, but now we have a corner, and Georgios Victoros will pick up his 9th goal of the season. To be fair, most of them have come from that exact routine, either at the far post or the near post. This time it was far post. That one, I think, got a bit of help from the underside of the crossbar. Not much Spinella can do to keep that one out, but now this is looking like a very comfortable way for us to lift the A-League title as we're 3-0 up, and it looks like that will be the case going in to half-time. Probably have to take off Stefan Negro here at half-time because he has picked up an orange injury, so that's something that we might need to do. But apart from that, very happy with how this one's going, 3-0 up, and Sydney United have not done a thing so far in this game. So obviously going to have to take off here Negro. We don't have Elliott on the bench, so instead Paris Dudley, he can come on it right back, and also might give some game time to Justin Keat as Max Caputo only going fairly, give him some game time, hopefully press his case for all-white selection, but we'll just make those 2 changes going into the second half with this nice comfortable 3-0 lead. And it's taken until the hour mark for the next highlight of this game. It's a goal kick here to Sydney United, the first one we see in the second half. They certainly need to do something here, otherwise they'll be going down to the second division next season. Chris Wood, though, will pinch that one. Justin Keat with a long-range effort has scored a couple of goals like that for the All-Whites already, but that one goes just wide, and it's still 3-0 to Auckland. Shortly off the back of that, free kick to Chris Wood. That one also goes close, but over the bar, and it's still 3-0. And just about to make our way into the last 10 minutes of this game. Unfortunately, I think I might have left this a bit late in terms of getting these players' ratings off of the bench, but the Wayne train has just gone down to a red hard. We'll play things safe Ronaldo can come on for him. Also, we'll give some of our youth players here some game time, just in case they do something. Michael Fleming can come on for Debango, and also might take off Chris Wood here for David Basilage. Those are our last couple of subs as we're about to lift the A-League title. Albeit right off the back of those subs going through, there is a goal kick here to Sydney United, and they do quite well there to pick out someone down that left-hand side. Now Lopez gets them inside of the final third. We'll see if we can defend this well with our youth players. We can't. Dominic Stokes finds himself in lots of space inside the box and beats Paulson there into that bottom right corner, and they do grab a goal. To be fair, financially, that's not too bad for us. Does mean no clean sheet bonuses, but they do grab a goal back here. Do Sydney United good bit of work there off that goal kick, where they did keep the ball. Good finish to make it 3-1, but surely still going to do enough here to lift the title. And just about to make our way into injury time in this game, and it does look like we have done enough based on that first half. Sydney United scoring with the only shot of the game. It was on target, which is a little bit frustrating, but there we are. We pick up the A-League title for a second season in a row here at AFC Auckland. It's taken a little bit longer than I was anticipating, considering this season we were quite heavy favourites. Unfortunately, Western Sydney Wanderers, they did deny us of the quadruple, but we beat them to the A-League, and to be fair, they actually lost in the semi-finals of the Australian Cup. They did win, I think, the Confederations Cup in Asia, so not quite a trophy this season for those guys, but they did push us a long way, but can't deny us of a second straight toilet seat, which is nice, because you never want to share a toilet seat too much with germs and stuff, but we lift it for the second straight season off the back of a 3-1 win over Sydney United. And there's the confirmation. If the trophy lift wasn't enough, that we have lifted the A-League for a second straight season. Still got one game to go off the back of this, so because of that, going to now skip forward and try and get a bit closer to funding out transfer budgets, and also hopefully can get the end of season review in today's episode. We'll see, because of course it might cross over with the World Cup warm-up games that we're going to play, and also the relegation promotion playoff stuff. So we'll see if we can sneak that in during the course of today's episode. Hopefully, at the very least, we will get transfer budgets, but making our way up the page here. Michael Cornelius Beale, of course, that's his full name, makes his debut. He's certainly one for the future. We'll get lots of starts in that deep-lying playmaker role here next season. Now that he has turned 16, but certainly one to watch in the future of the Save the Borden supporters. Happy with us for winning a second straight title. We move up the list of record title winners. Not that far to go to catch up to Sydney FC on top of the pile with 4. Did think they might have won a few more than that. Also, we have now made our way to the top of the Australian Hall of Fame, which is a little bit hilarious in only 3 seasons' work. And going up a bit further, everyone quite happy with our work here at AFC Auckland as we lift the A-League title for the second straight season. And we are back off the back of our final game of the season, eventually having got our transfer budget for next season. If you're wondering the result here, as we took on Perth over there, we did pick up a 3-0 win, goals to Hotman de Villiers, David Basilage, and another one to Georgios Victoros. Did mean we picked up a comfortable win, and this is what the A-League table does look like come the end of the season. The relegation playoff final is between Brisbane City and the Perth Glory over 2 legs. Not too sure if that will actually finish before we play our first pre-World Cup friendly, which is against Germany. But league table-wise, this is how things finish. In fact, we'll go over to the stages page so it doesn't get blocked as much by my head. But there you can see we ended up finishing 6 points clear of the Western Sydney Wanderers. The Phoenix, their best finish so far in this save, up in 3rd. So a strong year for New Zealand football going in to this upcoming World Cup. And going down a bit further, it is Avondale and Sydney United who go straight back down to the National Second Division. Of course, we already know the Newcastle Jets, they are coming up, having been the champions of that division for a long time, but also coming up Adelaide City and Canberra United. So a few teams returning to the A-League, as well as Adelaide City, a team that we beat in one of our games in the Australian Cup. I believe it was either that or the League Cup. Hopefully we'll beat them a couple more times when we take them on in the A-League next season. But now it is time for our transfer budgets for next season. £461,000, which isn't too bad considering the financial situation here, and also the instalments that are coming out for the transfers of the likes of Max Caputo and Jordan Courtney Perkins. The wage budget at £92,000. That's pretty much what it was anyway. In fact, I've docked it just a little bit, which is a bit frustrating. So by the time we sort that out, it does mean we're only going to have around about £300,000 left in our transfer budget if we do want to sign someone new, albeit of course no Chris Wood. That will free up quite a bit of that wage budget as well, but there's a transfer budget going in to next season, not too big a one, and also the season after doesn't look like it's going to be that big either, but around about £300,000 to £400,000 to work with for our transfer budget in the off-season. And I've gone full off the back of getting that transfer budget for next season, as you can see, a bit earlier than I thought here for a friendly, but still apparently at 11:30 AM, that's when we're taking on Germany. We have got our first friendly here with the All Whites prior to the World Cup, so I think it's a good time now to wrap things up for today's episode, but you can come back and do that in the season review for AFC Auckland during that World Cup episode at the start of next week. If we do need to, might be a bit shorter than usual, but we can throw it in there as well. But that will do it for today before I get stuck in to international mode and get these guys ready for our first crack of the save at the FIFA World Cup. That will do it for today's episode. We wrapped up the A-League there with AFC Auckland for a second straight season, picking it up by 6 points over the Western Sydney Wanderers. If you enjoyed that episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and did enjoy that season here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well, especially if you want to catch up with our first episode at the start of next week, which will be focused on our efforts at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. 3 games in the group phases. Not too sure if we split that up over 1 or 2 episodes. We'll see, seeing as it's probably likely we won't win any of those games or might finish 4th in our group, but we'll see how we get on in our first crack at a FIFA World Cup come the start of next week. So until then, thank you very much for watching, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.